There is something happening inside the body of most people over 50, quietly, without any dramatic warning, without any obvious pain at first. And the frustrating thing is, most people walk right past the signs every single day, assuming what they feel is simply getting older. Maybe you've noticed your legs feel heavier by evening, or you wake up at night and something just feels off, a stiffness, a restlessness, a tiredness that sleep doesn't seem to fix. Maybe your fingers feel a little swollen in the morning, or your balance isn't quite what it used to be. You mention it to someone and they say, "Oh, that's just age." But here's what most people are never told. Age is not always the cause. Sometimes, it is a signal. A quiet signal from your body that something specific is changing. Something that, if you understand it early enough, you can actually do something about. Right at home, without complicated procedures, without turning your whole life upside down. Today, I want to talk to you honestly about what that signal often is, what it means, and why so many people over 50 are living with this without even realizing it has a name. Watch this to the end, because by the time we finish, you will see your body's everyday signals in a completely different way. And that shift in understanding, it might be one of the most useful things you hear all year. Here is the truth that most doctors simply don't have time to explain during a 10-minute appointment. After 50, the body's circulation begins to change, not dramatically overnight, but gradually, steadily, in ways that build up over months and years until one day you realize something feels different and you can't quite remember when it started. And the system most affected by this? Your veins. Not your heart, not your lungs, your veins. The ones running through your legs, your feet, your hands. The ones doing the quiet, thankless work of pushing blood back up toward the heart against gravity all day long, every single day. Now here is where it gets important. When we are young, the tiny valves inside our veins are strong and responsive. They open, they close, they keep the blood moving in the right direction. But with age, and this happens to almost everyone, men and women alike, those valves begin to weaken. They don't fail dramatically. They just lose their firmness. Their timing gets slightly off. And when that happens, blood starts to pool, very slightly at first. Just enough to create that heavy feeling in the legs by late afternoon. Just enough to cause a little puffiness around the ankles after a long day of sitting. Just enough to make your feet feel strange and restless at night when you're trying to sleep. Most people blame the sofa. They blame the weather. They blame the salt in their food. And sometimes those things do play a role. But the deeper reason, the reason underneath all of it, is that the veins are working harder than they should and they are not getting the support they need. Now think about a typical day for someone over 50. You wake up, you make tea in the kitchen, you sit at the table for a while. Maybe you watch the morning news or read something. Then perhaps you go out, to the shops, to the pharmacy, to visit someone. You come home, you sit again, you cook, you eat, you sit through the evening. And by the time you get ready for bed, your legs feel like they've carried twice your weight. That pattern, sitting, then walking, then sitting again for long stretches, is one of the most common reasons vein pressure builds up silently in people over 50. The muscles in the legs are not contracting often enough to help push the blood upward. So the veins carry that extra burden alone. And here is what makes this so easy to miss. The discomfort feels so ordinary. It doesn't feel like a medical problem. It feels like tiredness, like a normal Tuesday, like something you just accept because everyone around you seems to feel the same way. But what if you didn't have to accept it? What if a few small, consistent changes, things you could do right in your own home, without any equipment, without any expense, could meaningfully reduce that pressure, improve how your legs feel, and help your body do what it was always designed to do? Because that is exactly where this is going. And what comes next is the part most people wish they had known 10 years earlier. So now you understand what is happening beneath the surface, but understanding a problem is only half the battle. The other half, the part that actually changes how you feel, is knowing what to do about it. And this is where most health advice completely fails older viewers. Because it either tells you things that are too complicated, too expensive, or simply too unrealistic for everyday life. What I am about to share is none of those things. Let's start with something so simple it almost seems too easy to matter. But do not let the simplicity fool you, because the effect on your veins and circulation is genuinely significant. Ankle circles, just that. Sitting in your chair, right now if you like, Lift one foot slightly off the floor and rotate your ankle slowly, 10 times in one direction, 10 times the other way. Then switch feet. The whole thing takes less than 2 minutes. What is actually happening when you do this? The muscles surrounding your lower leg, the calf muscles especially, are contracting and releasing, and that contraction acts like a gentle pump. It squeezes the veins from the outside and helps push pooled blood back upward toward the heart. Doctors sometimes call this the muscle pump mechanism. And after 50, when we are sitting more and moving less, deliberately activating it can make a real and noticeable difference. Do this 3 or 4 times throughout the day, not just once. The consistency is what matters. Now here is something that surprises most people. The position of your legs while you sleep is not a small detail. It is actually one of the most powerful things you can influence without any effort at all. If you elevate your legs even slightly during the night, a folded blanket under the mattress, a firm pillow placed beneath your calves, gravity begins to work for you instead of against you. The blood that has been pooling downward all day gradually moves back toward the heart while you rest. Many people who try this report that their legs feel noticeably lighter in the morning. The ankle swelling that was there the night before is reduced. That restless, uncomfortable feeling in the legs at bedtime begins to calm. It sounds almost too straightforward, but the body responds to these gentle, consistent signals in ways that build up over time. Now let's talk about something that happens in almost every English home every single evening, and that most people don't realize they could be using to their advantage. The evening cup of tea. Most people drink it sitting deeply in an armchair or on the sofa, legs flat, feet resting on the floor. A completely natural and comfortable position. But here is a small shift that costs nothing. Try to keep your feet raised slightly while you sit. A low footstool, a folded cushion on the coffee table, even a firm bag placed on the floor. Anything that brings your feet a few inches above hip level. You are still resting. You are still enjoying your tea, but your veins are getting a meaningful break from the constant pressure of gravity. These are not miracle cures, let's be honest about that. But they are real, consistent, body-friendly habits that work with your circulation rather than against it. And when you stack them together, the ankle movements, the elevated sleep position, the raised feet in the evening, the cumulative effect on how your legs feel over days and weeks can be genuinely remarkable. But here's the part that ties everything together. There is one more layer to this. Something that goes beyond physical positioning and movement. Something that affects your veins, your fluid balance, and your overall circulation in a way that most people over 50 are completely underestimating. And once you hear it, you will understand why all the other steps work even better when this final piece is in place. Water. That's it. That one word holds more power over your circulation, your vein health, and how your body feels every single day than most people ever give it credit for. And before you think, I know, drink more water. Stay with me. Because what I am about to explain is not the generic advice you have heard 100 times. This is something specific, something that changes the way you think about every sip. Here is what is actually happening inside the body when you are even mildly dehydrated. And mild dehydration is incredibly common in people over 50 because the sense of thirst genuinely weakens with age. You don't feel as thirsty as you used to, so you drink less. And you don't even notice it happening. When the body doesn't have enough fluid, the blood becomes slightly thicker, more viscous, harder to move. And when blood is harder to move, the veins, already working harder than they did 20 years ago, have to work even harder still. The pressure builds, the pooling worsens, the heaviness in the legs increases, the swelling around the ankles becomes more stubborn, the restless feeling at night gets worse. All from something as quiet and invisible as not drinking enough water during the day. Now here is the twist that almost nobody talks about. Drinking a large glass of water all at once, the way many people try to catch up on hydration, actually does very little for your circulation. The body processes it too quickly. A significant portion is simply passed out before the tissues and the bloodstream can absorb what they need. What works far better is small, steady sipping throughout the day. A glass in the morning before anything else. Before tea, before food, before the day pulls you in its direction. A few sips mid-morning, something with lunch, a little in the afternoon, and then, and this is the part that surprises people, reducing your intake in the 2 hours before bed. Not cutting it off entirely, just easing back. This helps reduce those disruptive nighttime trips to the bathroom that so many people over 50 struggle with, while still keeping the body well hydrated through the evening. Warm water, by the way, is absorbed more gently by the body than cold. And herbal teas, plain chamomile, linden blossom, a simple rosehip brew, count toward your fluid intake while also offering their own quiet benefits for relaxation and gentle circulation support. Now bring it all together. Imagine a day that looks like this. You wake up and your legs feel lighter than they did 6 months ago, because you have been sleeping with a gentle elevation under your calves each night. You drink a warm glass of water before your morning tea. During the day, whenever you find yourself sitting for a long stretch, you take 2 minutes for slow ankle circles. In the evening, your feet rest slightly raised while you have your tea. And through the whole day, you sip water steadily. Not dramatically, not obsessively, just consistently. Nothing about that day is hard. Nothing about it is expensive. Nothing requires a prescription, a device, or a trip to a clinic. And yet, over days, over weeks, the body begins to respond. The heaviness eases, the swelling reduces, the restlessness at night becomes less frequent. You start to feel more like yourself again, not a younger version of yourself, just a better version of the one you are right now. That is what your body has been asking for. Not a dramatic intervention, not a complicated program, just consistent, gentle, daily support, given with understanding and patience. Because your body, even now, even at this stage of life, is still working hard for you, every single day. The least we can do is work a little harder for it in return. Take care of yourself. You deserve to feel well.